Buddy, it's finally here, week 9, the week you've all been waiting for, metadata. So let me just go and do a bit of a review. I went over everyone's assignment. Well done, everyone. I just hope my comments made sense. I also hope that part of using Mural here is to be able to see what other people are doing, and I really appreciate if you can give me feedback on that, which, speaking of metadata, it's going to be that time soon to give instructor evaluations, which to many may seem an afterthought, or you might not have an opinion. Boy, how meta can we get? Because that's exactly what's going to happen this week. Why would someone share their opinion? Why would social proof be interesting? Super heavy duty concepts to come up with in week 9, but there it goes. It's been a long amount of work to get here to this storyboard. I hope you all realize what the goals were, and those goals were how these words and how these things in an interface help us find things. So let me just show you an example in case you guys don't do a lot of industrial design. I'm just going to our good friends Granger here, and you can see the work that you just did, right? Here's a huge database where you've got to break things down into certain categories, and once you get to a category, you have to kind of figure out from there exactly what the customer might be interested in. What they're going to do is, in this kind of interface, trust that you got it right, that this is reality, and this is the thing that you need. And if you did need whatever this is, something, let's see, from GE, and you can start to see also some other tricks here about metadata is showing counts. It's kind of fun, right? So at least you know that you'll actually get a result, and therefore, here you go. This goes into your cart because you're satisfied that you've gone through hundreds of thousands of items to get to the one you want. Now, this is fairly uncommon, right? We tend to go on Amazon, we tend to search for things, we tend to have things recommended to us, rather than this approach, which is what you guys just spent 8 weeks doing. So whether you like it or not, you still only got halfway up the pyramid. You're still only information. That information, as you can see, is useful to a person up to a certain point. Once we get into metadata, now we get into the real magic behind how things work in order to solve the problem that you all struggled with: sort order. And I know I said it before, but sort order is everything. Sort order, what shows up at the top of a page, is extremely important. Just like if you go to a grocery store, what's at eye level is extremely important. It's paid for. It's just the way things work. How's that? I don't need to justify it too much. So in this week, we're going to do a few exercises and just trying to understand, how do you go that higher level? And you don't always have to go necessarily with popularity, although that is a big thing we're going to talk about here, about ratings and comments and how do they actually work. Meta, remember, go in. I've asked some questions that I'd love your feedback in my evaluations for this course. All those things are really helpful to me, just as they are to everyone else in this world. So there's other little tiny topic here. This is its own course. I just think it's fascinating that this is a way to engender trust as well by taking a lot of numbers and try to make them easy to read. That's called data visualization. The great thing about data visualization is, just like anything, it can lie and you really probably wouldn't know it. You just tend to trust it. So this week is a lot about, why would we trust anything? And if you're the kind of person who trusts most things, good for you. I mean, that's fine too. There's nothing saying that there's any reason that trust isn't a big part of digital world. I'm just saying it's a pretty new part of the digital world. Most people did not. I just spent time with my mother, who does everything on paper. So there you go. She does not trust a computer to do anything. So it is fairly new. It's fairly useful to trust a computer because then you have a lot of advantages to that. But it isn't always truthful, as we've all experienced over the past few years. So there's also interactive data visualization. This is just me. I just love this stuff, so I'm just throwing it at you. You don't have to spend too much time thinking about it. But the biggest thing is to find your final. So what I've done here is, remember how you started with data? and then you figured out how to organize it, and et cetera, et cetera. All those steps that you did flows, all that. How did you manage to find things in a data set? So what you're going to do is you're actually going to contribute data. All these are services where the data comes from you. Pretty cool, huh? So you'll get to see their data structures because you're going to fill out a form to submit something to Wikipedia, for example, if you want to do that. Now, I'd say some of these are harder than others. Please take a look. These are not exhaustive, but all I know is that the majority of their content comes from user submission. So that's a really interesting topic, right? Because if you went to Granger, none of this is user submitted. It's a lot easier to rely upon data that you can rely on, like you'll know what it is. Where here, you've got to ask people the right questions, which should clue in your IA spidey sense at this point that that's how they use it to organize it for the end user. So when you get to end user, I'll just say, good example this week is YouTube. Many of you probably don't remember YouTube when the most popular video was Mikey Bit My Finger. I think that's what it was called. Why was it? Because it was always on the front page and people would always click on it because it just was one of those things. YouTube, fortunately, stopped that and figured out a lot of ways to organize things. So again, I don't want this to be too exhaustive. YouTube itself could be an entire dissertation on how they managed. But I think the concepts still follow what you did. It's just data turned into patterns, turned into information, and then turned into knowledge, which comes from this week's topic, which is social proof, popularity, whatever you want to call it. It has a lot of things going on, so we're going to talk about it. And then we're probably not going to meet, but if you do have questions on the final, I'm asking you once again about what is the core content of your service? Like, what are they really asking for? If it's YouTube, I'm about to post this on YouTube, so I know what they ask you for. So if you haven't done that, go post a video on YouTube, etc. Wherever, whichever one you choose. If you haven't heard of any of these, like I said, I wouldn't pick the one that you're the most familiar with because you might not necessarily actually care how it works. So remember, the point of this is to look under the hood. So hope that gets you through this week. Once again, this little overview isn't to replace the readings or the modules or reading up very distinctly on what I'm looking for in the final, which should make sense. It's going to actually ask you to do just what you just did for the past 8 weeks. Try to unpack how did this service do exactly what you did, because ultimately it's data in a database. There are a few tricks, but honestly, it's not much more than that. So good luck. Make sure to contact me if I can help. And if you'd like a meeting, I'm more than happy to do so. But you're also going to be sharing your papers in progress online because we're using Medium. And that's also going to be something you can take with you from the class and share with others. That's a big topic in and of itself. We'll probably get to next week when we talk about wisdom. But leave that for then. Cheers.